Good evening, everyone, here in the Scientist Reverse Grid League, in the Einstein League. Tonight we are at Canada and Singapore. The first race, as you can see, in Canada, it's dry, it's sunny, no rain. Some of these drivers must be very relieved because Canada is a tricky track with a lot of corners, a lot of walls where you can crash into and put some damage onto your car. But good thing is, the rain is not there. I think crashes and hits into the wall will be there, but we will see how it goes during that race. The grid has formed up. Normally we have a formation that we will have it to this time. Right now we have a look at the pits. As you can see, Casto and Spooner for Red Bull. Rawson, the only one for McLaren tonight. In a few seconds, the drivers will go on the formation lap after the their setups. Here we go, we are on the grid. As always, we will keep an eye on the ground. We'll also have a look at telemetry so you can see how much ERS is left for the guys. Of course, we will take a look at position changes regarding the driver of the day at the end. And of course, pit stops, tyre selection, penalties. And as you can see, a lot of guys starting on softs at the back. Jamie, Funnybot and Castle on mediums. And we've got a brave one in Mosher who's starting on hards. He must have a special plan around here. Because normally you don't start on the hard tyres, but maybe he has a special plan. We'll also keep a look on the penalties, which will normally appear around this track as you have a lot of corners that you could cut. Here's the first chicane. We easily could get a warning, and of course the Wall of Champions, the last chicane at the end of the long DRS straight. Instant Racer in the house is starting on pole tonight. Behind him, Spooner, Corleone, Takunya, Waterby, Mosher, Palaju, Rob, Yor, Jaden, Funnybot, Rawson, and Castle starting at the back because of the penalty he received after the last race because of an incident. So his main focus should be on keeping it clean and having a good solid strategy and making up some places to get good points for Red Bull here. Tonight his teammate is Spooner, a reserve driver who's jumping in for Verstappen. So thanks a lot, Spooner, for reserving here in the Einstein League. Tonight we got 13 drivers. Let's see what they're up for in this race. Of course we have the reverse grid format. That means instant racer. And the last race finished as the last guy on track. That means he will start on pole here in Canada. The grid is forming up. That means the red lights will be going out any seconds. The revs go up. And they're going. Spooner and Instant Racer already with a battle up to turn one. Spooner with a great start, trying to go on the outside, leaving enough space. Oh, an Instant Racer completely missing the corner. A big sandwich here. The Merc's going around. It's Corleone who's up to P1. What a messy start by these guys. Instant Racer tried to hold the position here in P1, just completely missed the apex on turn one. Went a little bit wide, blocked off. Spooner, who's now down to P8, Instant Racer, damage limitation. P2 as Corleone has taken P1, and Takunya is going for it. P2 for him now with a beautiful overtake here. I think he cut the corner a little bit, but it is what it is for the moment. He didn't crash into someone. Oh, it's bunched up here, as you can see. P2 down to P7, 8, very, very close together, side by side on the long straight. Let's see what happens here. Instant Racer P4 going down as Rob overtook him. Rob already made up 5 positions from the start. And now Pelagil is attacking Instant Racer, who's also under attack by Yor in his Ferrari. A lot of things going on here. As Spooner is into the pit, so Spooner got damage from that little tingle-tangle there at the start. He's into the pits. Wolterby down to P13 now for 12. Horrible start for him. He's completely behind the field. 10 seconds behind. Instant Racer desperately trying to re-overtake Pelagil, going side by side through that corner section. Yor's coming now side by side with Instant Racer going up to P5. Pelagil P4. What are they doing outside? Instant Racer. Oh no! He clipped the rear end of Pelagil and lost the car. He spun around. P11 for Instant Racer. But we jump back here to Cunha, completely cutting down that gap to Corleone. And right behind him is Rob, who's attacking Di Cunha. What a straight line speed by the Alpine. I think he's not going for the overtake now. Too risky, especially. It's just being here on lap 2 of 18. These guys have to make a strategy work, and they have to get their car around the track without damage. Well, we already have a big gap from Rob to Yor, a few seconds, who's fighting against Pelagil now, going around the outside with a beautiful move, overtaking Pelagil out of the first corner section. Beautiful move, dominating the position. Up to P4 for Yor, Pelagil P5, Jade P6. What a fight here. 4 cars, 6 cars with the McLaren and the Alfa Romeo, but we got yellow flags in sector 1. It's a Haas. It's Instant Racer, who probably spun. So he's now down to P12 as Wolterby overtook him, and Wolterby desperately trying to get that gap down to the pack, to Moshe and the rest of them. Yor leading that pack here, but on top, Rob very, very close behind. Cunha has DRS. Cunha himself also has DRS, trying to close that gap to Corleone. He's being forced to go fast because of Rob. He's waiting from behind. Oh, and Cunha with a good chance now. Jumping on his onboard using ERS, and DRS trying to go down the inside. Does he make that move? Stick. Oh, very close battling, but it seemed very fair. Great defending by Corleone. Oh, who almost lost his car. Bumped into Corleone, into the wall. And Rob is saying, thanks a lot. I got this. He's up to P1. Corleone lost his rear end, bumped into Cunha's car. Not nice to receive such a bump. And as they're fighting that hard, Yor and the pack behind him are getting closer to these 3. 3-second time penalty for Corleone. Pelagil 2. Euphonival also got 3-second penalties to his name. And Rob now leading this race. Corleone is still very close behind, only 0.4 of a second with the DRS now. Let's see how close he can get up. A good extra by Rob. Get up to 0.7 of a second. Let's see if any one of these guys come into the pits early because of damage maybe. Does that look quite bad? Yeah, 2 guys are coming in. Rob and Cunha coming in. Corleone is staying out for the moment. Let's see if the wings need to be changed. Yeah, that's a wing change for Rob, and that's also a wing change for Cunha. So very tragic for both of these guys. Pelagil also coming into the pits, also a wing change for him. A little better for them, but Presto is solidly up to P4 in front of him. Jaden and Yor now up to P2. Over 2.7 gap to Corleone. Jaden very close behind Castle 2. All in DRS range. Good thing for them is they can save a lot of DRS behind Yor. But as we all know, Jaden, he's not here to save anything. He's going for it. And Instant Racer is out of this race. Yellow flags and a 4-car safety car. So all the guys who have pitted just 1 lap earlier because of their wing damage, they're a little bit fucked now, to say the least, because they did their pit stop and all they can do is not drive behind and just close the gap. They're too far behind to overtake these guys now in the pits because of the delta. Oh, and awesome, the little adventure here into the wall, I think. Let's see, everyone is coming into the pits now. Even Moshe should come in on hards, yeah. He's coming in. He's probably going for mediums, but let's see if Rawson needs a wing change. Oh, he doesn't need a wing change, so he got lucky there. A little bit of a delay here out of the pits. Let's see what the pack is doing with Rob and Acuna. Of course, staying out there in fresh mediums. These mediums will carry them until the end. Pellegrino behind. Spooner coming into the pits. He pitted very, very early for the hard tires. Now he can go into mediums. Fresh mediums. He was last. Good thing for him is that the gap is being closed down in a few seconds as soon as he's behind the pack again. Let's see what happened here. We got Yor in P1, Jaden P2, Castor up to P3, Rawson P4, you funny what behind in P5, Rob Acuna, Moshe Pellegrino to be in Spooner. 2 DNFs already. Corleone into the race. Corleone DNF. I didn't get that. Unfortunately, Corleone DNF'd. That's new to me, unfortunately. So, as a matter of fact, in DNF, and Yor and Jaden, I think, have a 5-second. Only Yor has a 5-second time penalty for collision with Jaden. That's quite unusual that the car ahead gets the penalty and the car behind doesn't get it. So let's see what the reason for that was. We'll see, of course, at the end of the night when the incident report is put up. But we can also take a close look at the penalties. Of course, the 5 seconds now to yours and 3 seconds for your funny bot and 3 for Pellegrino as the safety car is staying out for another lap. Speaking of position changes, we got Yor with a Jaden with a Castor already with 10 positions gained. Rawson with 8, Funnybot 6, Rob 2, and Pellegrino's going down the order. Why is that happening? I don't know. They have to figure it out. But let's keep a closer look at the pit stops. Oh, to my surprise, everyone pitted. I'm a little bit surprised there. Everyone really has to pit when the order is like that. But it is what it is. As they're all staying out, of course, 1 up 7 behind the safety car. Ian with a good question out of the live chat. Is Mazepin driving the Haas? I think we should ask Mazepin. He's a pretty open guy, I heard. So, especially when it comes to women. But never mind. It is what it is. It is what it is. The funny bot warming up his tires like a maniac, but he has to. He's on mediums, and they need a little bit of movement to get fired up for potential restart at the end of lap 7. And the safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap. That means guys have 11 laps ahead of them on fresh mediums, I think. Let's see if we have any. Oh yeah, we have a few brave ones here. Jade and Casto, both on soft tires. So if they are speculating on another safety car, then this strategy will go up beautifully. But of course we will jump at the top now with Yor. He's doing the restart here at Canadaaaa out of the chicane. 3-second time penalties everywhere. Moshe Acuna collecting some. As Yor wins the restart ahead of Jaden and Casto. Of course, Jaden and Casto on fresh soft, which means they have to overtake Yor as quick as they can and build a big gap so that soft, as soon as they collapse, they have a big enough gap to save them from the mediums as Moshe is losing position to Pellegrino, down to P9 more for him. Of course, the pack really, really close together after the safety car. No DRS enabled until lap 10. That means these guys are completely down to driving skill and ERS usage, and of course the advantage of having the fresher and softer compound of tyre. And I think Jaden is now going for the overtake on Yor, but none of them is using ERS. Jaden used a little bit, but not enough to go for an overtake here. As York is still leading the race ahead of Jaden and Castor. Castor with the fastest lap up, of course. Oh, one lap off the safety car. Too early. Call it really the fastest lap. York with 3-second time penalty now. So there's multiple warnings. But that doesn't help the guys ahead behind him, because they have to make these freshest compound tires work. And Rawson, you funny bot, are fighting very hard behind them, side by side, losing a lot of time. The guys in front, Rawson getting the position back. You funny bot P5, Rob P6. Cunha also very close behind. Still no DRS enabled, of course, and Funnybot is now very close, getting a good exit here. But Rawson got a little bit more speed out of the corner. Rob is very, very close behind Funny. Going on the outside, Funnybot leaving the position to Rob, just staying behind, keeping it safe, and getting a 3-second time penalty. That's one way you can do that, but Canada's a very fucking tricky track, so everyone is good at talking but not at doing these kind of tracks, as DRS is now enabled, which means Jaden has the big opportunity to overtake Yor with the help of DRS, as Pelagio gets a 3-second time penalty here. Adds up to 6 or 9 now. I think we'll keep a closer look at that towards the end of the race when it becomes important. Rawson now with a 2.5 second gap to the top 3, which is very good for the soft runners, of course, to secure a podium here, but they want to go for everything. They're not going for P2 or P3, they're going for P1. Let's see if Jaden gets a good enough exit to stay close to Yor, use DRS, and maybe go for the overtake. He's using ERS. He's committed now, DRS at work, trying to go for the inside and overtaking him with ease. Casto staying behind, no chance at the moment, but maybe he can get him after the chicane. Taking that very carefully. Understandably, 3 seconds for the Cunha round. Spooner up to P10, overtaking Moshe is now down to P11. Casto, for the moment, staying behind Yor, but got the fastest lap of 111.6. Funnybot and Rawson are fighting very hard. Oh, and Rawson into the wall. And damage to his wing, as we could see. Very, very dramatic. Moshe in the pits. Probably because of wing damage. Rawson also has some, so yeah, you can see horrible understeers. Casto and Yor are going at it. Casto with DRS here, overtaking Yor, and now he has to cut that gap to Jaden immediately to get DRS back, otherwise he's a sitting duck for Yor, because Yor will get the DRS now. Castor has to use a lot of ERS now to stay ahead of Yor. Yellow flag, sector 2, 3, that's Rawson, I think. He already has damage. And as you can see, oh, Yor into the pits. That's not a planned pit stop, so I think there's some wing damage involved here. He's going under the soft tires, I think. Yeah, that's wing damage. 5 seconds. He's standing 5 seconds in the pits. That's a fucking horrible scenario for him. Soft tires, new wing, 5 seconds waiting. Yeah, could have gone better. Cunha in the pits with wing damage. Rawson in the pits with wing damage. Yeah, could have gone better for these two. But Jaden and Castro now in P1 and P2. Jaden already with a 2-second gap to Castro, who himself has a 4.2 second gap to Funnybot. And now take a look at the penalties. Funnybot already with 6 seconds. And as I'm saying that, Rob is overtaking Funnybot down the hairpin, but he could be a sitting duck now. As Pelagio also overtaking Funnybot. Maybe Funnybot has damage. Well, seemingly not, but at this game, you feel it more than you see it. Let's see if he comes into the pits now. Yeah, he's coming to the pits. There's damage to his car. That's why he lost the 2 positions. So Rob now in P3, 5 seconds behind Casto. So the only goal for Casto is now to stay within the lap times he has right now to keep that gap as long as he can, around 4 to 5 seconds to be safe in the last few laps, as SRGL is taking a very experimental line here around that quick chicane. Waterby suddenly in the mix. He was back in P11 at the beginning of the race after a horrible start. He's back in the mix up to P5. Got a big gap to Spooner in P6 with Funnybot. Just over to Bjorn, who's now down to P8 with Funnybot P7 coming behind. Already with 9 seconds of penalties in P9. Moshe P10. Rawson P11 going around turn 2. As Jaden and Casto are moving quite simultaneously here. P1, P2. Moshe and D'Cunha probably going at it a little bit. D'Cunha's car was ghosted, which means there must have been some contact. D'Cunha into the wall, maybe both made contact, maybe he spun. Who knows? And Casto is suddenly closing that gap 10th by 10th. The gap to Rob is increasing. And 3-second time penalty for Jaden! 3-second time penalty for Jaden. That means Casto is now the net leader. He's 1.5 behind. He's pushing at the moment. Maybe Jaden felt the pressure, but Casto is coming now. Rob with 3 seconds. So Casto is now safe in P2, and at the moment he's in P1, but that must have been a warning for Casto, so he has to be very careful now. Sector 3, yellow flags. That's D'Cunha, who's out of the race. He DNF'd in the pits. Horrible result for Aston Martin here in the Einstein League. Also, of course, for Haas and Mercedes, who have only 1 driver tonight here in their cars. They're all out. No points for them. The Constructors and the Drivers' World Championship. Casto 1.6 behind Jaden. So the only goal for Casto is right now to stay within these 3 seconds behind Jaden. Because the danger of getting a penalty is always there, but now comes the really tricky part, to not get a penalty, to not get a warning, and to keep the pace. Because Jaden is really quick. He's nothing to lose now. He's safe in P2. He can push now, but Casto is closing and closing that gap. 1.2. Massive pace by him. Pelagil very close to Rob, fighting for the podium positions. Rob with a 3-second time, but Pelagil with 6. So Pelagil, another one, that's 9, and that means he's almost out of the window to get a podium here. He's attacking. Oh, switch it to the outside, faking the overtake, going to the inside, side by side with with Rob, and I think Rob has DRS for the long straight. Let's see, it was quite side by side. Yeah, it's Pelagil with the DRS. It's Pelagil with the DRS, which means he's going up to P3. Rob very close behind. 9 seconds for Pelagil. 3 for Rob, and Casto only half a second behind Jaden. Mate, what a race by Casto. Started at the back, up to P2, and net P1 because of penalties, and now he's attacking Jaden to get the position on track. What is wrong with Casto? No penalties, no spins. I don't want to jinx it, but man, what a race. You funny bot with a 3-second time penalty, which means he's going up to 9, and oh, let's see who went over the line earlier. I think Casto doesn't. Oh, Casto has the DRS. Casto up to P1 with a beautiful overtake. Maybe Jaden has damage, because Jaden has not the pace he normally has. He's a very, very quick guy, but it seems like he's a little bit off for a few laps now. Rob overtaking Pelagil, re-overtaking him. has the DRS now fighting against Pellegio. What a fight between these two. Side by side, very close behind each other. What a race by these two, fighting for every inch here. And Casto is pulling against Jane. There must be some damage involved. But still, what a performance. Starting in last place here at Canadaaaa and being in P1 now as Pellegio and Rob are still going at it. It's a great battle between these two. They're fighting for every inch and they're not touching each other. That's great racing by these two. And Walterby is the lucky one who's coming from behind because he has no penalties. And at the moment, he would be up to P3. He can just stay behind these two and chill a little bit because he has it for the moment. Oh, Rob and Pellegio still going at it. Rob re-overtaking Pellegio. Casto now starting his last lap in the Red Bull ahead of Jaden. And Rob now trying to pull a gap of a few tenths to Pellegio. Oh, what a fight by these two. Walterby desperately trying to get into DRS, but he doesn't have to. Everything looks good now. Another 3-second time penalty for Pellegio, which now means he could drop a little bit further down the road because Spooner is coming. He's only 7 seconds behind Walterby, which means he's about 9 seconds behind Pellegio. And Spooner has 3, Pellegio 12. It comes down to this lap. If Spooner gets P5 from Pellegio. Let's see what happens here. Jaden 2.2 behind Casto, who's now on the long straight, the final chicane coming up. Pellegio half a second behind Rob. I think it's not enough to overtake him. But we're watching Casto now going around the chicane, the wall of champions, and he drove like a champion today. P1 for Casto. What a race. Jaden in P2, Rob finishing in P3 ahead of Pellegio after beautiful fight. Pellegio going down to P5, maybe P6. Let's see where Spooner is ending up. Oh, I think Spooner has fuel issues. That means he's down in P6. No chance to improve. You funny bot in P7 for the moment. You're crossing the line every second. He's in P8. Moshe and Rawson still on track. Moshe P9, Rawson P10, and Moshe is crossing the line right now, which means P9 and P8 for both Ferraris, collecting some points here. And Rawson in his McLaren now on the long straight. Final chicane for him. He's cutting it. Maybe missed his braking point, but doesn't matter for the moment. He's finishing in P10. What a race by Casto, Jaden, Rob, Pellegio, and also Walterby, who was far behind at the beginning, by Casto, and they improved a lot. They made up some positions, and Casto, Jaden, and Walter all on the podium, I think. Wow, what a fight between Rob and Pellegio. That was great racing. Casto winning that race here at Canadaaaa. Jaden finishing in P2. And Walterby in P3. That was a dominant performance by Casto. No mistakes at all. Clean driving. Good racing. A very good one. Let's see who has the fastest lap. It's Jaden with a 1:11.004. So congratulations to Casto for P1. Who started in P13, Jaden P2, Walterby P3, Rob P4. Solid points for Alpine here. Pellegio P5, Spooner P6, You Funny Bot finishing in P7, you're on P8, Moshe P9, Rawson P10, and 3 DNFs in Dacunia, Corleone, and Instant Racing. Doing a quick screenshot. So thank you all for joining for this race. We will be back in around 10 minutes with our second race at Singapore. This stream will be here. It won't finish just commentary will be off for 10 minutes, so there will be no new stream. This will continue. Just the commentary is off for around 10 minutes. Welcome back everyone for our second race here in the Scientist Reverse Grid League in the Einstein League at Singapore. We just finished Canada and now the streets of Singapore are ahead of us. Of course it's dark and it seems like that it's dry too, but here at Singapore it's really difficult to predict the weather because it's dark, and therefore you can't see any clouds or rain until it's there. But the guys will know better. They have the weather forecast. So we will see how this plays out. We just keep waiting a few moments until everyone has selected the strategy, and the tires only takes a few seconds from now on, and then we're in. As always, feel free to put some questions or anything else into the live chat. I try to respond or at least get it into the commentary. As you can see, Rawson is on P1. He finished P10 at Canada, which means he was the last finisher, and will start on pole here at Singapore. Moshe and your Bull Ferraris starting in P2 and P3. Funnybot P4, Spooner P5 behind him, Pelagil, Rob and Walter B in the Alpines, Jaden P9, Castor P10, our winner from Canada, and Corleone starting in P11 because he DNF'd at Canada, which means he will start at the back automatically. The weather seems dry for the moment. Let's keep a look at the tire choice. A lot of guys starting on mediums, so we have Rawson P1 and mediums, and Moshe on soft. The Ferrari's doing the opposite strategy, with You're also on mediums, Funnybot on mediums, Spooner on soft, Pelagil mediums, soft for both Alpines. Then we have Jade and Castor on mediums and Corleone on soft, so could be a huge difference, especially at the start and around the first few laps, because traction is key around here at Singapore. Not hitting the wall, not cutting any corners, don't jump over the curbs. A lot of things you have to keep in mind around here. So very tricky track. Of course, this is a street circuit. Street circuits normally are very complicated, as the name street circuit itself. As you can hear, I'm slowing my tongue while saying that shit. But it doesn't change anything when it comes down to traction. So the street circuits. Guys are now in sector 3, still warming up the tyres, coming around the last chicane. In a few moments the AI will take over from the start. There it is, so it's over. They're coming down the grid now, forming up for their starting position. We will of course take a look at the position changes right after the start and after lap 1. There are probably a few pit stops also after lap 1, because collisions are normally there, and that means that damage also will be there. We hope not, but it's still Singapore. Rawson and his McLaren starting in pole position. We have 3, 4, 5 red lights. They're going out right now. Telemetry of course enabled to see the ERS. And Rawson is having a good start, defending the middle line, staying in P1, almost in a sandwich. Both Ferraris pushing. I think it was Moshe a little bit wide. No, it was Yo. I think he's pushed him a little bit wide, but everything clean so far. Oh, we have 2 cars behind Canada and the Funnybot, who probably crashed into each other. They're far behind all the rest, over 7 seconds behind the Rawson, defending P1 from Moshe at the moment. He's on mediums, Moshe on softs, so Moshe is trying to get that position immediately to gain an advantage. Probably hit the rear of Rawson there. You have to be very, very careful. Not every corner is an overtaking corner here at Singapore, as the track is very, very, very tight. There are a few hairpins or corners where you can overtake, but you have to make it stick and you have to do it clean. Otherwise, it's just a collision and not a real overtake. Rob surprisingly jumped 3 guys ahead of him. He's up to P4. Jaden also up to P6, and I think someone hit the wall. It's Moshe who's going down the order. He spun or hit the wall. He's down in P9 now. Penalties, and you funny bot back. Oh, no wing for Penalties. You funny bot and Penalties fighting against each other like they have the same car, but they obviously haven't, because Penalties has huge amount of damage. Rawson still in P1, 8/10 of a second in front of Wall. He's also on the medium, so the biggest threat for Rawson is out of the way with Moshe, who was on softs, but right behind is on soft, and Rob is pushing right now. He's pushing Yaw around this street circuit of Singapore. Spooner behind him, P4, Jaden P5. Corleone in the pits right now. I think Penalties must be in the pits too. Yeah, Penalties is in the pits too, of course, with his wing damage. And Spooner is attacking Rob here. It's very close between Rob and Spooner. And Rawson is able to get a little bit of a gap between him and Yaw. But he made a mistake, I think. The gap was already up to 1 second. It's now down to 2/10s only. Maybe hit the wall, maybe lost the rear a little bit. But he stays in P1 for the moment. So no huge damage to his position on track as Rob is pushing Yaw around here. And oh, as we're talking about around, Spooner is round down to P7, spun his car there in the hairpin. Couldn't see if he just hit the wall on his own or maybe got a little touch from behind. Rawson was able to pull a little bit of a gap again up to 6 and 7/10 of a second. But there are parts of this track where Yaw is gaining a lot and Rawson is gaining on his side. Maybe Rawson is running a lower downforce setup, which helps him on the straights to get away from Yaw just a little bit. Yaw's are very close, just 3/10 of a second, 4/10 now. Fastest lap at the moment for Yaw. Very close behind Rawson. And as we are on lap 3, we will have DRS enabled now, and Walter B and Spooner into the pits. There must have been some damage to their cars. Rawson still in P1 for the moment. Yaw with DRS and DRS attacking. Let's see, on board, he's going down the inside. Oh, that was questionable to say the least. He was just running down the inside and pointing that car in a straight line, and the last minute he was turning. So Rob overtook Yaw as a result of that little tangle. Rob now up to P2, being calm and patient behind Yaw, just waiting for his moment. He got it, and as he's on soft, he still can push a lot. Maybe he has the pace to overtake Rawson. The next opportunity, 3 seconds for the funny bot right now in lap 3, on lap 3. But your funny bot will to be off 10, 13 seconds behind the rest. Of course, because pit stops. Custom P5 already made up 5 positions like Jaden and Rob did. And Rob is very, very close behind Rawson. He's shown himself in the mirrors. He's showing, oh, when Rawson spins! Oh my god, what a fortunate situation. He's spinning out of that last chicane. I can feel him. I did the same in a league race a few weeks ago. That's fucking horrible to say the least. Tires are very hot after such a spin, and that's so tragic. He's going down 4 positions to P5, and he has Untitled very close behind him, trying to get these tires back into the temperature window where he can use them. And Yours pushing very hard to overtake Rob. Is he going for the move? No, he's staying behind very close, but he's staying behind Jaden now up to P3. Castro P4, let's keep a look. And Untitled overtaking Rob. So let's keep a look at the pit stops, who already did one. So we have from Waterby onwards to down to P11. All the guys have pitted. So Rob to Rawson, P1 to P6. Haven't pitted yet. Pellinger with the fastest lap on hard, so he's making these tires work. Of course, he has fresh and clean air right now at the moment. 3.5 behind Moshe. But surprisingly, he did that on hard tires, so he has some pace in these ones. Maybe he's one of the guys to watch. Yeah, safety car here. Rob right now in the lead, ahead of Yor in P2. And Jaden very close together with Casto. Then a big gap to Jaden, 10 seconds. So we got a fight of 4 cars with Rob, Yor, Jaden and Casto. Of course Yor has the best cars as he's the second car in this DRS train, which means he has DRS and the biggest advantage over Rob. But Jaden is suddenly there. He's very close behind Yor. He's pushing him to defend the position and at the same time attacking Rob, which is very nasty if you're in P2 and being attacked from behind. We're also with the 3 second time penalty. Let's see what happens on this next straight. Who has the better exit? Rob is trying to get away, but the gap is still down to 3/10. He's moving a little bit to get out of the slipstream of Yor, but Yor is using it going down the inside and just overshooting the corner. Let's see where he ends up. Yor's still back on track on the inside against Jaden and almost pushing him into the wall, but Jaden making the move stick up to P2 for him and his AlphaTauri. Now, of course, Casto is trying to get an advantage here and maybe connecting Yor as well, but he has to be very patient. Singapore is not a track like Silverstone where you can easily overtake, so he has to make it stick. He has to do it cleanly. That's the most important thing, and Jaden is going for P1 here, side by side with Rob, using DRS on the outside. That's very tricky as this corner, and suddenly, oh, and Yor spun! Yor almost spun, hit Casto, but he just said, man, my rear end is more stable than your front, I'm going. It's P3 for Casto, P4 for Yor, and Rob still in P1 ahead of Jaden for the moment. At the same time, the funny bot just closed the gap by 3 seconds down to 7, and we have our first pit stop here. It's Rob. Rob is the first one to pit. He's on softs, of course. I think the rest is on mediums. Jaden on mediums, Casto on mediums, Yor on mediums. So just a logical decision for Rob to pit now because he was in P1. He's dictating the strategy of all the soft runners. And the only hope he has now is that Jaden and Casto fight so hard that they lose time on track and he can make, let's call it the soft undercut because of the different strategy that he can make that work. And Yor is 2.5 seconds now behind Casto, so he can't keep up with the pace at the moment. Maybe he's worn out his tires in these fights. Maybe he has some damage to his front wing. We'll find out in a few laps as soon as he comes into the pits. But Casto and Jaden again, P1, P2 fighting for the win. But it's a little bit early to say that they're already fighting for the win because Rob is still in the mix. He's 12.8 behind Wilson, which means that he has clean air. He has to defend from his teammate, but I think Waterby won't attack Rob for position as Rob has good chances to win that race. So Rob's goal is just to get that going, and we have yellow flags. It's at the back, Moshe and Corleone. Corleone has no wing. He lost his whole wing there. I don't know if it was an incident between these two, or if Corleone just lost his car. But Pelagio is now very close behind Corleone. Corleone letting him by. Very, very fair driving by Corleone to let his competitor by, to not ruin his race. Very clean, fair driving. Yellow flags. It's... who is that? It's Funnybone's gone into the pits. But nothing else, I think. I'm not sure. There were yellow flags for a moment. Castor and Jaden still staying out. You funny bot in the pits. Rob just overtook him. That means Rob up to P5 for the moment. Still has clean air on these mediums, making them work. 65% of ERS. Sector 3, yellow flags. It's Corleone. Yeah, he has huge problems to stay on track with this car with that damage, of course. It's not an easy task. Jaden is able to increase the gap to Castor to 1.3 seconds. Moshe overtaking you. Funnybot probably coming out of the pits. Yeah, you Funnybot out of the pits. Moshe just overtook him at ERS. For you Funnybot now. Let's see if he can overtake Moshe using DRS. DRS going down the inside. Moshe leaving enough space. Very clean and fair driving. Good battle by these two. Funnybot up to P8. Let's keep a look at Jaden and Castor if they're pitting already on lap 7 or if they're staying out for another lap to have fresher soft tyres at the end of the race. That's now a fight of strategies if some of these guys is maybe undercutting the other one. Castor is 1.4 behind Jaden, so it seems like that Castor is just covering Jaden's strategy to be safe within the top 3 and then attack maybe as soon as these guys try to battle it out. Rob has some very good pace right now. Let's see where he is behind the leader. He's 29 seconds behind the leader here at Singapore. The whole pit stop is a very, very long one because you have to brake very early to make that corner into the pits. Then you have a quite long pit lane, and the exit of the pit lane is also very, very tricky. You're very slow there. Nasty corner sections. So it's probably around 25 to 30 seconds per pit stop. And Rob is now in that window of 28, 29 seconds. So we'll be very, very close after the pit stop. Let's keep a look at the penalties. 3 for Castor at the moment, 3 for Awesome, 3 for Walterby, and 3 for you Funnybot. Let's see if that plays a role regarding the finish at the end of the race. Everyone on mediums right now, of course. Jaden and Castor, Yor and Rawson will pit for soft tyres. Rob is of course not trying close that gap, but it's going up by 1/10, so Rob has to keep it together. Jaden is staying out. Castor is also staying out, so they're not going for the pit stop right now. They're just staying out for another lap, so they want really fresh. They just say to each other, if we lose that place to Rob, who cares? We will get it back with softs, maybe. If they're brave enough, they of course got the pace. That's no question, but it's easy to close a gap, but more difficult to overtake them. And the gap between Jaden and Castor is still constantly around 1.4 seconds. So equal pace for both of these guys. But now on lap 9 of 15, I think they have to come into the pits in lap 9. Of course, if Jaden is staying off on another lap, Castor has the chance to undercut him, and he should try to do that, but I'm not his race engineer, so he has to find that out on his own. Pelagio just overtook Moshe for P9, but Moshe's in the pits, so it's quite easy overtake for Pelagio. And Walterby's gap, Rob's gap to Yor is still the same. Not to the leader, to Jaden, I'm very sorry. The gap to Jaden is still the same. Jaden is not the last sector. Let's see if Jaden and Castor will be coming in on this lap. Yellow flag, sector 2. Who is that? It's Rob! Oh my god, Rob just DNF'd! Rob just DNF'd, it's the safety car! It's on the bridge! Oh my god, Rob just DNF'd. He crashed on the bridge. Rob is out of this race. It's a safety car, and that means we will have a battle at the end, and Rob won't be involved, but Yor and Walterby will be involved, because Jaden will be in the lead, but Castor has a penalty. Walterby also has a penalty, so let's see what happens here. This is very, very tricky, and you got a few guys behind who probably will pit too for fresh softs. We could have a sprint race here at the end of maybe 3 to 4 laps, but Walterby's staying out. Walterby's staying out. Maybe he smelled some blood here to gain 1 or 2 positions. Walterby P4 at the moment. You're in the pits. He's just coming out. Where's Walterby? Walterby overtook him, so Walterby is going for grip position. Walterby up to P3 for the moment, ahead of Yor. This will be a great fight. So Castor, Walter, both with penalties, both on 3 seconds. Oh, what a beauty. We got the green Aston Martin safety car around here. Thank you, Codemasters, for that upgrade. Everything else was shit, but that upgrade is fucking sexy. What a nice car. Come on, Jaden, show something of that car. Yeah, go a little left and right, show something. Sexy. So enough of that. Jaden in P1, Castor P2, Walterby P3, Yor P4. We also take a look at the tyres. Jaden and Castor now on softs. Walterby, of course, on mediums because he stayed out. He didn't pit. Everyone else on track on fresh softs. Only Walterby has stayed out in track position to gain 1 position against Yor, and is on 6 lap old mediums. Of course, these tyres won't go off until the end of the race because it's 5 laps to go. The safety car is out. So worst case scenario for him is doing 4 laps on these mediums. They will take it, of course, but he is on mediums and everyone else on fresh soft, so that's a very hard fight he has to fight there. Still a little bit gutted for Rob. He was a big player in that top 3 finish at the end. Really sad to see him DNF there. But as I said in the beginning, Singapore is a nasty street track. It's normally not the #1 go-to track for a racing driver because it's very, very cornery, nasty. You normally don't get a real rhythm around here. It breaks within the corner, so a very tricky one. And with Rob, you can see that he can easily bin it anywhere. Rob is not known for just crashing into walls, so yeah, keep your eyes open, keep your focus high. That's the only thing you can do. He still has his teammate in the mix in P3, Walterby. Just trying to get some good points here for Alpine. Curious to see what Walterby can do from P3 here with his mediums. If he can defend the position, if he maybe can go for an overtaking against Castor and Jaden, maybe at the restart. The restart is a very important point here. You can't just go for it, you have to be strategically clean. And we will have a look at the penalties, of course, until the end of the race, because that's one thing will play in a few guys' hands who have no penalties, like Jaden, Yor, and of course Pelagil, who's quick and who has the chance to go from P8 a little bit higher, maybe a podium for him, but let's not jinx anything. The pack is now bunched up, so the safety car is probably coming in at the end of lap 11, which means we have lap 12, 13, 14 and 15 to go, a 4-lap sprint race. Everyone on fresh softs, only Walterby on worn mediums, 7 lap old. So let's see what he can do from that position. Google Maps would have shown that place as Rob's graveyard. Let's keep the left on the bridge, and the safety car will be coming in on this lap. So racing will continue. The beginning of lap 12 of 15. Oh, and and Rawson just binned it. Oh my god, Rawson hit the wall. Rawson has wing damage, but we have to keep a look at the front. Jaden in P1 making the pace. Rawson has left the session. Yeah, Rawson, that was horrible, of course, he knows it. We don't have to go any further than that. That's just horrible and tragic. He knows best. And Jaden is now making the pace in P1 out of the exit of that little chicane. The safety car is now coming into the pits, and Jaden, I think, has now the opportunity to go for it, and he's going for it. Right before the left-hander, he's going for it. Casto right behind. No one's sleeping here. Let's see what happens. Casto very close behind Jaden. Walterby has a 7/10 gap to Yor, which is very important for him. And he's losing a little bit of ground to Casto. Maybe his tyres are not warm enough at the moment. Oh, Yor is going for it. Let's go and Yor on board with him, trying to go down the inside against Walterby. Oh my god, he just hit one. He hit Walterby. Oh, and he hit Spooner, and Spooner has enough of it. He's just going for it. No patience there. Well, of course, he got hit by Yor, very heavy. So understandably, the frustration is very high here. Pelagier just made up 2 positions at the restart, up to P6. And Spooner seems to be out of the race. He's given up. Yeah, he must have had damage. I think he has damage from there. He's letting everyone through. He has damage. Oh my god, the frustration must be very high. Pelagier P5, Yor P4, Yor and Walterby still P3. A 4-point. No, that's a lie. It's the leader. We're going to the intervals, of course. 1 second gap to Yor. Casto, 1 second to Jaden. So Casto's goal must be to stay within DRS to Jaden, just to have an advantage and get a bigger gap to Walterby and Yor, of course, because of the penalties. But the gap to Walterby is already up to 3 seconds. Yor 7/10 behind. So right now, Casto is saved in P2. Jaden with the fastest lap, of course. And I think Walterby could have damage. Oh, Pelagier is coming. Oh my god, he has some pace at the moment. He's already up to P5 because of the penalties. He could end up in P2. Well, of course, he has to overtake Yor before that. And that's not an easy task, as you can see the lap before. Pelagier using a lot of DRS. Yor using the same, of course. And Pelagier realizing that there's no way around Yor at the moment. But Walterby losing some time to Yor, probably because of damage. You can't see any damage on the wing, but as mentioned earlier, with this handling model, you rather feel the damage instead of seeing it. So there could be damage to Walterby's car because he's losing more time to Casto, already 4.5 behind, which of course plays into Casto's hands. So there's a 3-second time penalty, but losing P2 right now. And Pelagier is eager to overtake Yor and Walterby, of course. He has big chances to go on the podium here. He was in P8 at the restart, maybe P7 because Rawson has been it, but that's a 3-second time penalty for Pelagier. Oh my god, that's spinning everything around again. So now he's with the back to the wall. Now Yor is the one with the biggest advantage because he has no penalties. And he's trying to overtake Walterby again. He's very close behind him. He will have DRS. And DRS will be enabled right now. So that means on the long straight, after the first few corners, DRS will be enabled. And Casto is very close behind Jaden, as we saw Moshe, I think, going into the wall. He spun out of the last corner. And Casto very close behind Jaden now and probably overtaking him. Maybe Jaden again has some damage. He's not defending it pretty much. They're going side by side. Casto down the inside. Very good move. But let's switch to Yor and Walterby. Walterby still defending the position. Still in P3. 6 seconds now behind Jaden because Casto is in P1. 2 laps to go. If Jaden has damage, Casto can put out some wonder laps just to get that gap a little bit higher and maybe get the win here. And Moshe DNF from the race. Moshe DNF from the race. That's yellow flags in sector 1. No, we're taking it out. Moshe out of the race. But we stick with P3, 4, and 5 as... Oh, you funny boy, and Palagil are going at it. Almost everyone here has DRS. Only Walterby... Oh, yo, is pushing his way through. He's pushing through Walterby to get that position. These guys know best if that was fair and clean. I only saw a glimpse of that, of course. They know it best. Jaden is staying within DRS range to Castro. So it seems like that Jaden will finish in P1 at the moment. Only at the moment. We still have 1 lap to go. And Walterby under attack from You Funny Bot. Both with DRS, but it seems like Walterby has a little bit of damage to his car. 35% ERS for your 20 for Walterby, and Jaden staying behind Castle for the moment, but of course he had DRS, which helps him a lot. And Walterby not able to overtake Yor with the DRS. You Funny Bot P5, Paragil in P6. He will get P5 because You Funny Bot got a penalty, but oh, we have now the fastest lap by Spooner in P7 in his Red Bull, which means an extra point for him and the Red Bull crew. Walterby almost falling out of DRS against Yor. I think Walterby has damage to his car. Otherwise I couldn't explain that he's losing 10th by 10th. And he won't have DRS. He won't have DRS. He's in 4th gear around that hairpin, so there must be some damage to his car. And he has now to defend against You Funny Bot. He's doing it, which means P4 still for him. Now comes the last sector with wing damage, one of the most horrible ones around the calendar. Walterby desperately trying to defend that position here. In P4, almost touching the wall again. And Casto finished the race on track in P1, of course, goes down to P2 because of his penalty. Jaden wins that race. Yor in P3, Walterby P4, Palagi goes up to P5, You Funny Bot P6 because of penalties. And Spooner is now the last sector in P7, trying to finish that race. Congratulations to Jaden and his AlphaTauri, who managed that race very, very beautifully. Finished in P1 because of Castro's penalty. But what a performance by both of these guys, finishing both in P1 and P2 in Canada and Singapore. And Spooner just coming around to finish in P7. And that's it around Singapore. An action-packed race with a lot of collisions, damages, and of course hits into the wall with some tragic DNFs. And 2 guys who were dominating that race in Casto and Jaden, who both finished again in P1 and P2 on the podium. Yor in his Ferrari in P3. Of course, we will see at the end of the night if there are some incident reports and what will change within the next few days. But at the moment, it stands that Yor finishes on the podium in P3 in his Ferrari. When the shisha hits too hard. Here we have our final standings. Jaden finishing in P1, Castor P2, Yor P3, Walterby in his Alpine in P4, Pedagog behind him in P5, You Funny Bot P6, Spooner P7, Rawson finishing in P8, Corleone in P9, and Moshe and Rob DNF from that race, which means we have only 9 finishes here, 2 DNFs. And that's it. That's a wrap around here in Singapore. We just take a quick screenshot, of course. And I'd like to thank you all for joining, for jumping on the stream, for putting your comments in the live section. I tried to get them in a little bit here at the stream. Thank you all. I wish you a nice weekend. Stay healthy. That's the most important thing. And we'll hear from each other next week. Bye bye.